So I just told a story at dinner at Drinking Skeptically with the Pikes Peak Skeptic Society, and I thought it was important enough to preserve for posterity here on YouTube because it's what I do, right? Um, so the story I'm going to tell is about a woman we'll call Mary, but that's not her real name. Um, and her real name isn't even Americanized. She's an immigrant. I met her a couple months ago on a very slow day in my market, and she was buying mixing bowls. Very cheap mixing bowls that were antique, but I think they were like $2 for the set. Um, when I met her, she seemed very timid, and I can't even stress the word timid enough. Um, she had a very thick accent and did not speak English nearly as well as she does now, just a couple months later. She seemed odd because it seemed like she would get in trouble for spending $2 in the market, but she really wanted these mixing bowls that had a little fruit pattern in them. She had me hold these mixing bowls in the office so that she could come back and get them at a later time because for some reason she couldn't bring them home at that moment. And it was really weird. Like, as an Americanized person who's grown up American, I don't know any guy that gets pissed off that his woman went and spent $2 on something that helps make food in the kitchen. You know, even if you're the most horrible misogynist in the world, why would you get mad about needed kitchen items being purchased? I don't know. Maybe the budget's that tight. But she seemed really timid, and something that I noticed about her was that she had visible scars on her face. One of them, if I described it, it would identify her, but I don't want to get into specifics about it. But basically, not something that you'd notice unless you had 5 minutes of conversation with her. Like she would pass if she was just walking by, but um, I got the feeling that perhaps the reason why she was so timid was also the reason why she had scarring. Um, Even one of her eyes, kind of at that time, looked like either permanent damage or recent damage had been done to one of her eyes, and it might just have been age, like cataract building up on her eye, but it didn't look right. Not even like a cataract. And there's no like American equivalent for how this woman projects this emotion. I've never seen any person in America like even in the most abusive relationships act like this woman that we're calling Mary. The closest thing that I've ever seen is um, the behavior of a beaten dog, like the most abused of dogs that I've seen. Like, I've never seen a human being this nervous. She came back for her mixing bowls, and then on a separate occasion, she asked me about employment at my market. And when I handed her a job application, she was very hesitant. And I asked her why, you know, and she was looking for more something under the table, maybe because she did not want to fill out the application. Paperwork was very scary to her. It wasn't that she didn't know enough English to fill out the application, it was that paperwork scared her, and she actually did not want me to call her family and let them know that she was looking for employment. She was afraid that I would rat her out to the men in her family, which was bizarre, to say the least. She did end up filling out the application. Um, I have not employed her at all, but she did fill out that application. Um, and I went a few months without um, seeing her since then, but at that time I gave her a phone number for my friend Meg, who is a women's rights activist and was one of the founders of the We Are Women chapter here in Colorado. And I did it because it seemed like Mary was going to need Meg's number. You know, with the type of men that she had around her. She's a very recent immigrant, and I felt like as she learned how things work here in America, she might want some help leaving the situation that she was in. And, you know, with some of the resources that are available to women through activists like myself and Meg and Christy and a bunch of others, we can pretty much give someone the equivalent of the Underground Railroad and get them out of an abusive situation and get them into a women's shelter. You know, it just it struck me as one of those situations where she wasn't ready to even consider something like that, but she needed it bad. So a few months went by, and I hadn't seen her, like from Christmas all the way until like 2 days ago. And she told me a story about immigration, right? And I have told a story about immigration myself here on YouTube, where I've had problems getting some of my extended family a visa. Um, like my Aunt Gladys in Panama, she wasn't able to get a visa until um, right before the death of my sister Deb, because they said that she didn't have significant ties to her community. Um, but in Panama, the grandmother is the babysitter, and the working age people go to work and leave their kids with the grandparents. And like, she had lived in Panama for like 65 years, you know. And to say that she didn't have significant ties really pissed me off. But I tried again right before my sister died and got her a visa based on my sister's horrible prognosis with lymphoma. So now she's been able to visit a couple times based on a track record of returning to Panama. If she were to ever overstay her visa, they would never give her another one again. But I know how immigration sucks in America. It really, it's weird. We don't let anybody else come here, but all of these other countries will let us go there, because I guess we're protecting the wealth. That's it in a nutshell to me. We're sitting on our wealth and not letting everyone come take it. And there's a lot of hypocrisy in the way that we can freely go across some borders with our passports, and then other people from other countries can't come into our country because we're afraid they might stay. Well, Mary came to America under a weird circumstance where, in becoming a citizen herself, because she had a certain refugee status, which I can't go into too much about, she was not able to bring her children with her. Some of these children are they would be high school age here, but where they come from, they're considered adult. And it's a very weird thing when you have to have someone leave their children behind and come to America and become a citizen in order to apply for their children to come live with them here in America. The way that she went about her immigration seemed very painful, and you could see it in her if you were hearing her. Like, she's frail, and yet she's been through so much. I'd call her a survivor. But here's the part where the story gets really, really fucked up. Now, don't think of Mary as being from a traditional family. In her home country, there was a family unit where she was not the only wife, mate of the head of the household. Okay? So, when there's multiple wives in the household, and say one of them dies, the children of that woman don't just get kicked out of the family. They're still part of that family unit, right? The other women adopt the child, right? So, in a war-torn African country where many of the men get killed, you can imagine how weird this is. The head of the household that she was living in gets killed. She then gets married, in a way, to a guy who's going through the process of coming to America. And when she decided to apply for her children to come live with her in America, she didn't understand a lot of the process. They understood how much money it costed to apply, and they saved up and they made that amount of money and they applied. Mary has her oldest is 16, the one that applied was applied for, and that one is allowed to come over, as well as her other biological children. But at the time that she left, with leaving her children in the care of her older children, she had one child that she did not tell the rest of the children where that child actually came from. It was from another person in her family unit that died, as well as the father died. So this child was part of the family, but not biologically related to Mary. She raised this child from like a baby, and then the first few years of school, comes to America and is sending money back to the boarding school where the child is at. It's completely supporting this child. But what she didn't know when she paid all the fees in order to get her child, or all of her children, was that the DNA test involved in it, where she gave her blood to be tested against their blood, that DNA test would tell her children in Africa and the embassy in Africa that her youngest child was not biologically hers. Something she didn't want the rest of her children to know because of the stigma that that child would suffer. But also, she did not understand anything about DNA as far as like how it is the bottom line as far as whether or not someone is your child and eligible to come with you to the United States. Under the circumstances that she's trying to get them in. So, yeah. It was really, really messed up, the situation. And I get people coming to my market all the time looking for me to help them with my networking skills. Like, I might know somebody somewhere. I hooked Mary up with Catholic Charities because they have an immigration wing, but Mary needs like a super lawyer. Like, I don't know how to work around this one. How do you prove with foreign documents that you've been paying boarding school fees and that you've raised this child, and does it even matter when you're not genetically related to the child? I think it's bullshit. But what can I do? Except for point her in the right direction of somebody who might have a better answer. I also gave her Meg's number again because, yeah, she can't have that number enough. She needs to learn some more English, learn our culture a little bit better, and then get out from the oppressive air that she's in. Because, sometimes you just come across a person whose life story is so much worse than your own that You feel like you won the lottery of life. You know, there's a lot of suffering in the world, and her face shows it. Like, wow. I'm very grateful for all that I have.